Hello to everyone. It's great to be with you again. I think we have a spectacular lady demonstrating for us today. Marilynne is just unusual and very, very original in her work. And I really love the fact that she's going to explain what she does, how she does it. And I think she's a great example for lots of other folks. So I, I'm not going to read all the accomplishments that she has, which are considerable. But Marilynne, I think that this is a wonderful thing, and I'm really looking forward to the things that you have to say. So, without any further ado, Marilynne, would you go for it? Muted.
Okay,
There
there.
you go.
You got me?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a bit of my background with pictures. I didn't start out painting until I went to college, but so I've never ever had any artwork before then, not even in the high school and the junior high and all of that. I was a musician. I played the cello, played in the Chicago Symphony, traveled around when I was 8 years old, started playing at eight, had two. So that was my beginning first career. Um, while I was in high school, I took mostly courses in medicine, physics, math, anything that related to the sciences. So because of that, I got a scholarship at Washington University in chemistry. And I thought, well, what would I like to do? And I decided I had been working in a pathology lab and it was really fun. I enjoyed it. And I thought, one of the doctors was writing a book and needed some drawings. And I thought, oh, I could do that, even though I don't have any background. And I started doing these drawings for him for the book. And because of that, I got a scholarship at WashU in chemistry. Well, I was bored to death with all the academic work. And I decided to go down to the art school and just play. And that's where I went off on another tangent and I became an artist. Oh, no laughing in the background, huh?
Oh, I'm laughing. I'm laughing.
So here's how I've started. I wonder if we can see this. Okay, I'm going to start showing examples and you won't see me anymore. So take a picture and I'll talk to you later. Okay, let's see if we can zoom into this.
I thought we were gonna be able to zoom, but I could lift it.
Oh, we don't want to do that, do
I don't
we?
think I'll be
You'd
able to
have to
zoom.
hold it all the time. Okay, I'm known for St. Louis landmarks. So consequently, this is one of the first books I did with all kinds of drawings inside of St. Louis. And the first job I ever had was an architectural illustration. So this is a bad painting, but this was in the 1960s when I did this. This is one of the first pictures. And then I made quite a living doing just house paintings.
Nice work.
This sort of shows the drawing of the house, how I usually do it. I get it pretty accurate, but I try not to make it like a typical architectural rendering because they are so boring. And I don't want to put in all the details. I only want to represent some of the details.
I love that one.
So then I started out doing boats. I like to sail. So this is a little tiny 5x7. And the way I did this, those lines that are on that, those are done with pieces of cardboard. I'd sit on a dock and just quickly draw it, and I could do it with 15 minutes. And I used to sell these for $5, just enough for lunch. So these are some of my, I was also known for the steamboats on the Mississippi. I'm one of the few that did I did over 40. I also did a series of river scenes from St. Louis to New Orleans that recorded everything on both sides of the river, on just how moving materials downriver. And all those paintings that I did for that particular one are in the Mercantile Library here in St. Louis. So this is another one that relates to that. Those these little sections here are done with cardboard, but it relates again. So now I think we can get on this side.
Marilynne, before you leave that,
What?
when you say something's done with cardboard, I didn't
I'm
understand.
going to
the first
show
time.
you. I take a piece of cardboard, I cut them up into different sections, and I'll paint the edge of it, and I can stamp it. Now see how I've got these?
Yep.
This is all done with cardboard. The way this evolved was when I was teaching one year, they forgot to buy brushes, and I had to do something. How are you going to paint without brushes? So I cut up pieces of cardboard to use like a palette knife.
Oh, okay.
Not quite a palette knife. So I could make these marks, you know, you just mark, and then you push it to get all these other things. And by using that, your paint runs out and gets your different variations of color from light to dark. Okay, this is so that's how I start. This is another one that's done with cardboard, but more colorful.
Lovely.
So that's a whole section that I use cardboard an awful lot, even within other pictures. But you can see how this cardboard would evolve into the geometric transformations. Okay, here is a landscape. And we're going to do a landscape. I'm going to do a painting on landscape. But this gives you an idea, like even this little section here was done with cardboard.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, could you be clearer? So you're putting down the edge of the cardboard and then
Yeah.
pushing it from there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is another one. Oh, we can do that. This is another one that was done with, I'm going to cut this and show you. Okay, you'll see how I cut it. A little bit. Anyway. Okay, here's a piece of cardboard. I will paint the edge and I can stamp it. I'll have different sizes, so I can use all 4 sizes as I want, and that'll make a nice straight line. Do you see how these lines are in here?
Yeah.
Well, when I do a painting and I'm doing something that's an architectural thing, I'll do the drawing first, almost like this one. And you can see how this is done. And then see, then I would take this, push it. And that's how I would get, and these are the trees. No brush at all, just the pieces of cardboard. But I'll have a couple different ones. Now this is just a corrugated piece of cardboard, but I'll use leftover mat board, and whatever's left around of any kind of board. And for a while I was using the heavy corrugated cardboard because it had the texture on the side, and it was really good for using for brickwork. Okay, then I went into this other direction. All right, this is one, and this continues. I did a series of paintings on the KD Trail, and on the trail, in order to do the painting, to get it done quickly, I would start with my dark colors first. Now, you know, that's reverse of what you're supposed to do with watercolor, but I don't follow any rules. So by doing these dark colors, I've already got the composition done, and I can do it very quickly and finish it. This was probably done with the pieces of cardboard also. Right after that, then, okay, this is probably what started it. This was a painting I did the back stairs, and these were so precise, and I did this just with a brush, and I liked the way it looked. I liked the design, and it was getting more geometric, very more structured. So this was the next one I did that related. Okay, this is bunch of steps that go up to a reservoir, and I like the design. I said, why can't I make that more geometric? So let's see if I've got it. If you can see, all right, see, take a good look because this is it. So I've got this. Let's see, I can show this. This is the actual picture, the photograph. This is the painting. This would be the second one. That's very, very structured. And it got to the point where it was just an abstract. Okay, I kept making it linear. So here's a window. Any questions on how I got to that point? I mean, I
No,
really
but I
like
love it. I
even-
love it. I love it.
even
I
the
love
little
it.
designs that are supposed to be the shadow along the side of just triangles. Okay, then here's a black and white, just a picture of people going down the pathway. And I structured it this way, all straight lines. So there are no circles, no curves or anything. I tried to present it to one of my classes, and one of the students did this one. And this is my actual finished one. So those are very early structural pieces. Now, how this evolved is, first of all, Charles Demuth started this, except that he had circles in it. He had some real things. This is a Charles Sheeler.
I think you can put it down on the board. We can't see the whole
Okay.
painting. There you go.
How's that?
Good.
Okay, then I can just put these.
Oops, sorry.
This is going to be,
That was a mistake. Hold on, Marilyn.
okay,
I
let me go back.
removed you by mistake.
Oh,
I'm very sorry. Very, very, very sorry.
got it?
There we go. Oops, man. You know,
Okay.
you really should get rid of me, guys, and get somebody new in this position.
There,
Okay, so these are Louis Feinegger's. Louis Feineger probably is as close as you can get to the direction that I went. This is a beautiful piece of just sailboats.
That was like 3 months ago.
And then sort of Diepenkorn somewhat did it with his landscapes of just, you know, blocking out these shapes. And then naturally, it's going to be Mondrian. So here's a series of Mondrian. This is an early Mondrian. Okay, it's sort of the way I was painting, just landscapes. And then his trees turned into this. And then they became this design. And then you need him for all his geometric section, like down here. Right, this is also an early Mondrian. I had my students copy Mondrian because I wanted to tell them about horizontal and vertical lines. So in some respects, this represents it too, saying that all his horizontal and vertical lines had a change. All right. This is just rules that I have for painting outdoors for plein air, and how you divide your composition into squares or sections so that nothing is exactly in the middle, and you've got it a little bit off center. And then I've got rules. You don't need the rules. Okay, then let's see. We can go to this one. This is a painting that evolved from this picture. This happens to be a chapel down in the Ozarks, and it was very linear as it is. So I ended up doing a painting like this, and you can see how that evolved into it. Okay, now, let's see. Right, this is the photograph. And what I would do, and I first do a pencil drawing, and then I'm going to show you all different steps, but this is the drawing, and then I did it as a monochromatic. Let's see. Which shows you all the values and the contrasts. And I would like to have very intense contrast from white to black almost. And as long as you can do that, you can redo this in any direction. So then I did it in the cardboard. And you now know I use this cardboard and push things away. Then I did it as a full color watercolor. And the final one is my 3-dimension. And the way I did that, okay, so what I did, when I'm doing this, I start out with lines, and I'm going to show you how these lines evolve. I think of my composition as a stage setting, that on either side, you've got your curtains, and then you've got your center of interest and action. So on the sidelines, I want it fairly dark, where your center of action is almost as if you have a spotlight. So when I would start, well, you can see this. This would be, I've got another one hiding here. Yeah. So I started out with my light colors where you've got the pattern going into there. Then these are the middle tones. And then these are the dark tones. So that would be these different stages that I had. I'll go back to the actual picture. Okay, so that's pretty much the way I'd start. Now I'm just going to show you some of them that I have started in the past and never finished, and this will give you an idea. This particular one, you can still sort of see some of my pencil drawings in here. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's kind of light. And on top of these pencil lines, I start drawing my lines. So these are the sides that'll be dark. Here's your light color that's going into the center. Never did finish it. Maybe someday I will. I don't know. But that's what it is. I also try to get some sort of a pathway leading toward it. Not necessarily a one-point perspective, but just a pathway. In some respects, this is like a middle-age paintings where they didn't know perspective yet, and they usually used an S-shaped curve to get to your center of interest. Okay, then here's a painting that I did, and I've transposed it to this one, and this one isn't finished yet either. And you can see some of my lines still, and I haven't finished it. This is finished on this side. I still have a lot to go on this one. So now I'm going to show you some of my landscapes, the way they've evolved. These are some of my early ones. This is a really good example of how the darks are on either side and your center of interest goes down into here. This is another one. Any questions so far? Okay. So
Yes, do you know why you don't finish the ones you don't finish?
they were usually demonstrations, and I was done with the demo.
Okay.
Time went out. Okay, so these are some of the other ones. See how this pathway is? That's what's fun. So what I'm doing, I'm really inventing shapes that lead you to different places. And this is the one that's behind me right now, that's in the frame. Okay, so I've gone beyond that, beyond landscapes, and I'm starting to do bridges and underground, and I'm playing, is that right? Yes, it is. I can't even tell if it's right side up or not. This shows you, I paint, when I'm painting, some of this is almost like a Mondrian. You can see little sections where they're squared off. And I'm playing with just shapes and patterns, and I have to copy that pattern within the painting at least 3 times so it balances. Also with color, if you notice the red, I want to make sure that it balances throughout, and that's all I needed. I still have the blues that are on your dark side. Okay, since then, I'm going to show you what I'm going into now. This is a painting, believe it or not. Instead of doing the lines with the marker, like I was doing in the past, I used an awl and drew in wet paper. So this paper was sopping wet. And I did it the same way I would do my geometrics, where this is a piece of plexiglass. I'm going to put it over here. You can see. I would take my plexiglass ruler, or whatever you want to call it, straight edge, and I'd make my lines. And then I would put a wash of water, watered down paint, and it would go into my etched lines, and they would get dark. And the more layers I got on here, the darker they got. And that's how I could get this scale of changes. So now I'll get started on painting.
You have an all that you can show us, Marilynne?
No, no, it's down in the
Oh.
workshop.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is my drawing. I'm going to show you what I've done. This is one of my paintings that I've done in here. I also did it as a monotone. Now I'm going to change that and turn it into this painting. So first I'm going to show you my materials. Okay, the paper is, this is, wait a minute. This is what I use. This is Richardson watercolor paper, 130 pound, 135 pound. I really like it. And I'll tell you, you'll see in a minute why I like it. First of all, it's just as good as Arches. But Arches has changed. It's not as comparable as it used to be. I also use Arches watercolor. This is what you can get, 24 pan Arches. This is kind of nice because the reason, oh, we've got an awl. Here's an awl. So if I were going to do something, I would just mark it like this. Did you see how I did that?
Yes, thank you
Good.
for that.
Okay, so anyhow, so this is what I'm going to do. These are my projects. I've got the paper, I've got the watercolor brushes. This also happens to be a Richardson brush. I don't know if they make them anymore. You know, Richardson is just a company. It really was a paper company in Wisconsin that started this. And then they came up with these paints. I really like them. They're kind of weird. This is an unusual pink. I call it Pepto-Bismol pink. And some of the colors are very hard to tell what they are. They're so dark, you don't know if they're going to work quite right or not. So that's the way I start. Then these are, I'm probably going to use a blue. All these are really cheap pens, marking pens that I get at the dollar store. And I'll use these to make the lines. So now I'm going to start. Can you see my picture? I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, we can see
Okay.
it.
So it's an actual, they're actual drawings, very loose. And I'm gonna take these, and what I'll do first, I might want a yellow one. Because yellow won't show as much. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I've got these lines here. I'm gonna start making straight lines near the horizon line. And I'm doing them off center a little bit instead of having it straight across. Okay, I think I'll start with these light ones first so you can see what I'm doing. There's some little trees in here. I'm moving these. This is a little tree. It's right in the center of everything. So I'm following, and I might even divide it up a little bit. There, that's my center of interest. Okay, I'm going to leave that there and I'm going to jump to the sides now. Let's see, I should go back and show you what my black and white, can you see this? See, I'm going to move this down, but then you can see it. Okay, so that kind of gives you the composition that I'm doing. So this little part here would be this little tree on here. Now, I'm going to start with these trees over here, and I'm going to use the blue. Because if you notice in this particular picture, the darks are over on this side here. So here's how I would do it. Now I'm going to start making these trees bend toward the center. And the reason I'm going to do that is because so you make your eye go to the center piece. So even if it's drawn straight up, I'm making it on an angle. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm also adding some branches and limbs. And that's how they start to abstract. This is going in other places, so I'm going to have to. Small in here. Any questions so far? I haven't made you fall asleep yet.
Well, everybody is muted, so people can't speak.
Did
You
she
can
use the
unmute.
all already?
What was that?
Did you use the all already?
Yes. I'm not using the all on here at all. Cool. All this is just ordinary paper, and I'm just drawing the lines. And the more I think about it, the more I think I'm going to extend these.
Folks, if you have a question, unmute yourself. Just mute yourself again afterwards in case there's any background noise.
Okay, now there's a reason I'm doing these lines. Because this is when I'm going to start making shapes when in all of this. I learned that this could be like tree branches and limbs. It's become almost a technique that I end up doing. of breaking a space. Okay, you can almost see how this relates to this one area here. Any questions yet? Boy, I could do anything. Okay, I'm gonna get on this side. Now see,
Marilyn, hey
yeah,
Marilyn, where do you get your supplies?
um, usually by mail, Dick Blick.
They
You-
have Richardson paper and the Richardson
You can get
watercolors.
Richardson and Dick Blick. They have it in different sizes. The 22 by 30 regular size, and they break down. They also have a 12 by 18. You can
Okay.
order there by ream or by box or whatever you want.
Mhm.
They even have 25 sheets at a time. They're not
Okay.
they're not that expensive. They're much better than since Arches is not as good, a lot of people are jumping to Fabriano.
Mhm.
But I like this even better than Fabriano. Okay, let's see. I got to do some more on this side.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I missed your explanation of the pens that you're using.
Okay, these pens are cheap pens from Dollar Store.
And
Now,
they,
what I'm doing is I'm extending these down. I'm going to start putting some more lines in. And what this is bringing your eye towards you to that center.
Mhm.
I want to, I don't want spaces to be equally distant.
The pens are water soluble, I assume, not
Yes.
permanent? Yeah, okay, thanks.
They're real cheap. I think this whole section of 8 was $1.25. Well, I have to do it water soluble because otherwise I won't be able to get into some shows. Okay, so now I've got this pattern that's coming all the way across. When I start painting it, it's going to change because then I'll have other little spaces in here. So now I'm going to start dividing this a little bit up. This is when I'm thinking about how I'm going to get my eye to go into that area. Okay, the nice thing about this clear piece of plastic is I can see through it. So that changes a lot. Okay, can you already see this pattern in here? How it's leading you to this one little section?
Yep,
Okay,
good.
now, I'm gonna mainly work on the sides in these dark colors. And so this is when I started inventing. This is supposed to be some of the sections of tree forms. And I'm just having fun making lines and trying to balance them. And usually where I stop, where I have those little marks, that's where I start adding together and balancing them. So I've got this little place here, these three, it looks like I need one like right here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and they're turning into that section. And this is when I start looking at patterns that I see. And it has nothing to do with the picture. I'm just making designs. So this is a whole section that will end up with different shades of green or whatever color I'm going to put in there. Have I lost anybody yet?
I think we're still hanging in there.
Looking good.
Is the paper smooth?
What was that?
Is the paper smooth?
Yes. Well, no, there's a little bit of a texture on it. This it has two different sides. One has more texture than the other. So like if you're into illustration, you'll want to have it more smooth. And if you're into more a real loose watercolor, you'll probably want to have it on the more textured side. But you can use both sides. When I get started to paint, I'll show you some of the properties. I might not finish. Well, I don't know. We'll see how long it takes me. This is the longest. In fact, this is the most important part of doing the picture is this is the inventive part, where see how I've got this tree section where it's going off. So I'm going to have it right here, and I'll have the same thing so that there will be trees coming over this way, even though it's not in the original picture. That way it's like there's arms that are enveloping you to get to this little section. So I am inventing this whole part. And since these are such cheap pens, they might run out.
Do you use a new piece of plexiglass each time, or do you clean it?
I don't clean it. I've got a whole bunch of them. This is a shorter one. And the reason I've got so many, you know, when you're sending paintings out, you have to have an acrylic plexiglass top. But the real cheap ones that you get when you buy them in like Hobby Lobby with a frame or whatever, well, they scratch so much you can only use them maybe one time. So I use that leftover plexiglass and I can cut them up into these long little strips. And it works really well for me. And this is where, like even within the that tree form, I've cut it up so that when I paint it, these are all shapes that I will paint different. Yeah, this is starting to run out. Let's see if I can finish it up. But right now, if you can see what I have, I'm gonna put another one in here. There. I've got my different shades of blue and I'm gonna go toward red. This is gonna be my middle color. Can you sort of see that these are, the blue trees are in the foreground, these red trees are going to be in the middle ground? And I'm going to start working with different shades of red. That what they're doing is, it would be the secondary level of space. But I'm still crossing some of the blue lines. And this is really all just inventive in my mind. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, it's by using this red, you get the feeling. So you've got foreground, midground, background. By just using these colors. Now I might even go for orange. I think I will. I'm going to put orange would be the secondary one that would be in here just to get towards the yellow.
So what you're saying you're doing is basically just creating interesting shapes that then you will paint.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is something, this is the inventive part. That I'm making all these different shapes. And I just keep going. But this takes the longest part of painting. I'm going to go back to one of my, let's see. I'm going to go back to one of my old pictures and maybe I'll work on that one so we don't have to wait for so long. Let's see, it would be probably near. No, it'll be back in here. Let's see. Yeah, let's try that. Okay.
Or this one.
Oh, let's do both of them. Okay, so you can see this is a little bit different. There's a bigger area of coming forward. I don't especially care for that. But what I've done, as you can see where my lines are, they're all going toward it. This would have been the center of interest. Okay, now this one is a little bit more finished. And what I can do is I can start painting so you can see how I do different layers. Now, I'm going to show you this piece of paper first, just to show you the properties. When I paint, I'll say this would, if this were all wet, maybe I'll show you how this all looks. I'm going to do this side, and you can see the all part.
Might want to move that piece of paper up just a couple inches. Perfect. Thank
So
you.
I'm just doing this little corner. Now, all I have to do to make that work is, I'll do a blue because a blue works pretty well. I'm just going to go like this, really light. Okay, can you see these little tiny lines? Maybe not. Let me do it darker. Okay, now I'm gonna. Can you see the lines?
Yes.
There would be,
Just,
it
Yes,
would
you
be
can
like
see
one
that.
wash over it. Okay, then I can do more lines. And I do another layer on top. And see how it keeps getting darker? Okay, so that was how I did that one last picture. Just a second. That's how I got all of this done. Same way. Okay, now the other property of this paper, I'm going to wet it. Usually I have to put some water in each color so that it gets semi-moist. That's the difference with between tube paint and this kind of paint.
You might try an eyedropper.
Well, that's okay. All right, I'm going to try and get this as dark as possible. Okay, this is good. I'm going to do a couple colors on here. And then I'm going to show you how I can lift off. Okay, this is when it's almost like sculpting. I can sculpt into it and lift out. And when it's still wet, I can get down and lift out all the way to the white. So if I had a painting, I could just wash this whole thing off. So like, let's see, I'll got a paper towel. See how versatile that paper is? Okay, so I'm going to go back here and I'm going to start painting on this. Any questions so far? This is the one I started with, but it's taking forever and I don't want you to be here forever. Any questions on that?
No, but you're doing great, Ma.
You're doing fine.
Okay.
I have a
All right.
question.
So this is, you can see this section. So I'm done with this. I'm done making my line, I think. Sometimes I have to go back in here because like in this little section right here, I've added some lines after I've made this part. So what I did, I painted this whole section a real light color. And then on top of that, this is when you start making, I'll do a soft one. This is why, okay, I want to make this a little darker. So I have to paint in within here, in this little shape here. Maybe I'll do one right over here. And what this is like, oh, you do your color scale of a monochromatic of light to dark, but you're still doing one shade on top of another. This is the same thing. I'm starting with light. I could do all of this next color, and then I'll do another layer on top of it. But sometimes it's easier just to quickly jump to the next color. Okay, see, this is light. This is going to be darker. See, some of this is already running. There, you see that? Okay, I'm gonna come over here to this side, and usually the darkest color that I can get. Where's the top? If I had regular paint, it would be a phthalo blue and a burnt sienna. And I can mix up a real dark blue that's not quite black. Okay, so this would be on the side, like right up in this little area. Oops. I would put it back in here on the sides. Now, once I put another color over it, it gets darker. So in other words, I'm making this side on the dark side. I would probably go back over here. I might want to make this darker back in here. See, by making these darks in here, it makes this little section stand out and more important. Because then you have your values that change. Notice how I use this brush. This particular brush, I like using a flat brush because I can turn it. If you notice, I can make a smaller, thinner line with the edge of this brush. So let's see, I'm going to make some more darks in here. And it's so easy. See how I can make a line like that? And then I just fill it in. I don't know if you've ever tried working with a flat brush before. Okay. Let's see. What I'm trying to do is get this color to come through. So it balances. There, see how that leads you into that? I'm going to put another section in here. There. Okay, now some of this still needs some more drawing on it. So I think, see, it started with the green. I'm going to put some more greens in there. And I'm going to divide up some of the area. I see this line here from the other side, and I'm going to branch it off in here. So I have more spaces to fill up. So even while I'm working, I can come back in and I can make some more lines. I could divide this part up in here. So that I have more sections in here. Okay, so I've divided more up in this area, and so I'm really jumping around this picture quite a bit. And the reason is I'll see something, and then I'll look on the other side and I want to try to balance it together. Just like I put that in because there wasn't enough interest in this. It was just such a big area where this is such a busy area and you just need a little bit more. And look at how I've broken away. See, no, I don't have that picture. I had an idea and I've gotten away from the idea. Like here, I've even got this little fence here. I might even put in some more fence.
Marilyn, how do you
Yep.
know when you're done?
When I get bored.
Oh.
Actually, this is like, it's like a mental therapy. You get into this, you're in your own little world and you just play. You're playing with different areas and then you try to get it to balance. You're thinking about color, how color balances. I haven't got an exact palette of what colors I'm going to use, although I do know I'm going to have dark areas. So a little bit like, well, this is the same picture, but see how the darks are on the side and then you have the light area in the center. So I'm still going to try and keep that light area in the center. I'm going to try keeping a little bit of white. So there's a white area in here. So this has to be this will be darker in that section than this little section. In fact, I'm going to have to probably put another line. Now, what I've done is I've also made some of these lines try to go in that direction. I might even put some more over here. I'll use an orange over here. I haven't used orange in this one. So in other words, I'm dividing up that little area there. Yeah, the orange is running out. That's the problem with cheap paint, with cheap brush markers. There. Okay, so since I divided that part up over in that section, that means I've got to paint in these other little parts. Okay, see how that divides that up then? I may want, maybe I want this little section here to be lighter. I'm not sure, this is so old, it might not lift up. I would lift up. Yeah, see, I can still lift up the color. So I can make it lighter up there. And make it maybe as light as that yellow. So that has a little section in there. Okay, let's see. So by doing this, I've divided up that section so it's not so wild. Because I use those colors, I may want to. Okay, I'm going to start here with the yellow that balances that over there.
Do you think ahead of what colors you might want to use before you start a painting?
Yes, and then I change it as soon as I start painting. Okay, so what I've done, see, this yellow has to balance. Then I did a kind of a yellow ochre. I should wait, but I'm going to put this yellow ochre in here. Now see how that balances on either side? So there's some semblance. Looks like I've gotten into the greens. This one little area has to be much darker when I get into it, but I'm going to put some greens in here. This is a yellow green. Since I use that yellow green, that means I got to come back over here. I'm going to go in some areas back in here to make it yellow green so it balances. So in other words, when you use color, I like to have the color balance on at least in 3 places. See, this is where the light part has to be. Okay, so I can do this. I might even leave some of these trees white so they look like birches. Um, So I'm still thinking traditionally, like I'm trying to make a color run through the picture, and if I've got it on one side, that means I've got to have it on the other side. There, see how that kind of flows through that one color? Now, even within that color, let's see, to mix up. As you know, once you mix up a color, you can never mix it up again. I'm going to go through some of this. No, I better not do that. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going over some other areas here where I want them to be darker so that these two change. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to change this. So in other words, when I have a color, I'll take it and I'll go through all sides on both sides to try and get it to balance. And then I move on to the next. Now, some of these, like I did have this color. This is when I want to get even darker. Because I've done it there, I'm going to bring it over here. Now I'll be putting another color on top of this probably to bring in some of those real darks. Now, let's see, I think I'm going to add. See how it's starting to kind of blend together? Or can you? Okay, let's see. I'm not sure what color I'm gonna break up this area. They're not going to be evenly spaced because I want some variety in it. There. There. Okay, I'm assuming this was probably something like a bunch of bushes behind here. So that has to be a different shade of green. So see how I work around throughout to try and get color to sort of balance? You almost can see there's a picture coming up. Any questions yet? Wow.
You're doing great. I think it's wonderful that you're explaining what's going through your mind as you're doing it.
Okay, let's see. I need some darker areas back in here. No questions on why I'm not using a round to fill in these?
Why aren't you using the round?
Good for you.
Mhm.
Okay, do you notice how I can, with this flat brush, it's wonderful because you can go right, I'm going to add some more into here. You can go right to the edge of my line. And the brush itself, you can make you can make a line if you have to. See how I've done that with the edge? Which normally you can't do with a round. With a round, you're stuck making a line and it's not quite straight. This I can do with even out without my straight edge. Here. Okay, my paint is starting to get more semi-moist and I can get darker. Now, some of these where I've sort of lost the line and it gets really, I might come back in and use my marker and make the lines a little bit better. But this gives you the feel. Now it really looks like a watercolor where it's not so structural. Okay, let's see, I've got this green. I'm going to add this green in here. So there, you're starting to get the mind of a crazy artist. I really want to get really dark back here. Let's see if I can finally get that dark. Because these are,
Marilyn, what do you see evolving from what you're doing now?
what I'm trying to do is I'm recreating this scene and I'm trying to get it, I'm thinking of depth where it's got to be dark on these outside parts. And I'm also thinking about how just the composition alone. And I'm playing with these shapes. Let's see, I want to get that dark. I want to get it as dark as that on the other side too. So
Is this a particular scene that you're
this is
trying
my
to?
mind. No.
No, this looks like the Science Center in St. Louis.
Oh, really?
A little bit.
There, I'm making it darker here. See, some of it bled. That's okay. I'm gonna make it dark down here too, the corner. That's as dark as I want to get. And eventually, some of these sections will get that dark. So just like even over here, these are supposed to represent pieces of grass growing up. So I'm going to make this, I'll make this part dark too. And see, I can put another overlay of color on that. I can put a green on that and it'll be a dark green. It'll change it. Now, can you see how some of this is already changed? Okay, I'm going to block this part out. And I see I use this color and I let it move through the picture. So if I put it in just one spot, it would just stand out like a sore thumb. Okay, let's see. I think I might as well put it right here too. And what I can do while it's still wet, I can go over this with that color. Now see how that blends in nicely, but yet it's different shades.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I will, later on, I'll go through it and parts of it, I'll take, usually I use wet dirty water. And I'll take the dirty water and go over a whole section so that it kind of pushes it down and lets it blend together, and it's not as important as you think it is. Okay, let's see, what else can I do? Okay, see, I can see that this needs to be even darker. And I can't do this unless it's dry underneath, or otherwise it all runs together. So sometimes when I'm gonna lift this little piece up that went over the pink. There. Sometimes I have to take a break. That's when I go into another room and do something else, and then come back and wait for some parts of it to dry, or start working on something else. There. Now, see, it's starting to get dark over here, and your eye is sort of working together. This stands out. This color is bad. So I'm going to put another green in it. There, see, that kind of helps it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Since I did that, I'm going to make this a little darker, or at least that same shade of green. Okay, since I've done that, okay, I'm going to make these green in here. So I still have to think of values, light to dark. So as I get away from the center, everything goes darker. I don't like this color. I think I'm going to add this green to it. So one color plays against the other as I'm working. See, that helps a little bit. That was just the wrong shade of green. I can see some greens in here too that should balance. There. I may break up some of this so that it looks like this pattern. I've got this green in here. I may add some in here. Gee, it's starting to look like a picture. Okay, I want this green to blend in with these others. So what I'll do is I'm going to take this green and go over the blue. And that's how they kind of go together. Problem is, see, I have to wait. Might do the same thing over here. There. See, now there's kind of a continuity to the pattern. Hmm. Now, some of these trees, I really am going to I'm going to make them stay white. I kind of like that birch look. Now see how this stands out? I like the way that branch stands out that way. I'm still going to make a line here later on. I'm going to do this over here. Okay, on this side, I think I'm just going to go over the whole thing. There. Now see how that stands out? Eventually, I've got to cover that up. But here's another thing. As you probably know, once you do a painting of color, that color is going to dry 3 shades lighter. So sometimes you have to compensate for that and make it to an extreme. I'm not trying to match anything because there's no way you can really match it to perfection. If you try mixing up colors to match something in a picture or whatever, it goes muddy. And so what I do, I like to exaggerate the color so that it gives it a little bit more interest and it's not so muddy and dark. And that's why sometimes I'll actually use the real color that's in the palette instead of trying to mix it up. Okay, this has to be a little darker. And what happens with the paint that's in the brush as you keep using it, it gets lighter because the water runs out of it. So the picture itself now is almost becoming a traditional landscape. You've got your trees, you've got your pathway in the center. I'm going to add some more in here so I can get rid of some of that white. Okay, I've got some oranges over here. So I'm going to add some oranges over on this side. Oops. And see, that's picking up this color here. I had a problem there. I see that I'm gonna have to pick up. I'm gonna put some oranges into here. So now there's somewhat of a balance. Okay, there's only one here, so I need another one. I think I'm just gonna use that as a line. Okay. Um, I don't really like this green at all. So I'm gonna lift it out. See, isn't that wonderful that you can lift out? You can't do it on all paper, but this one works really well. Okay, I want to make that lighter and I want to make it darker behind it. So I'm going to go back in and get this really light. Then I'm going to make that darker. Give me a different shade. Now, if I can, I'm going to make it very light, so just to get rid of the white. There. Okay, I'm taking the yellow and I'm taking that yellow and going over the other color, so they kind of blend together. Um, I'm going to add the yellow into this. So it's almost like a value scale in there. Okay, and it's starting to come together a little bit. I'm not getting any questions from anybody.
It's because we're all so fascinated with watching this come together. It really is amazing, Marilyn.
Well, the thing is that I'm inventing as I go. It's not like I had something really planned and I keep changing it. I've got this one little section here. I think I might make that this color just because I don't want it white. Okay, because I've got it there, I'm going to bring it in here.
I have a question.
Okay.
You didn't use an awl on this trees?
No, this isn't all. That was only just showing you how you can make lines in a paper. This is really good, like, instead of the awl, you can use you can use the awl instead of a straight edge, and you can just draw with it so that you're, like, if you had a bunch of leaves or something and you wanted to show some of the branches in here, you can etch into them. Or even like in a leaf, you can put some of the forms in the leaf, the veins, and that way you don't have to dry them. And what happens is the paint that you've put down, it goes into that scoring part and makes it darker. That's the whole idea for an awl. So you can use an awl for almost anything. Some people even take their brush. Oh, in fact, at one time, brushes used to have that flat edge at the end so they could scrape into it. Same idea, but in all, you can get some nice fine lines that you want to put into it. Is that what you were thinking about?
Yeah, I just wondered if when you did the trees, I mean the lines, if you used the awl on that so that you would
No.
create black marks.
What I'm probably going to do after this dries, I'm going to go back in and put more lines in here so that they balance. Like, I like this little pattern up in here.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do that pattern here, but I can't do it until everything dries. And then I'll have two textures that balance, just like these grass forms here are balancing on either side. I've got this sort of reminds me of maybe a fence that's going through, but I have it so that it's flowing through the whole thing. So here's a little bit, here's a little bit, here's a little bit, and then just right through, and that helps balance it. This is still I'm gonna keep this still light, but I've got to get the feel of depth. So that means even some of these have to get darker. So it's going to be light, darker, darker, darker as you go up. But I still have to keep that light, whereas I want these at the end to get as dark as this area. Does that make sense to you? That's how
Yes, that makes sense.
yeah, that's how I can get the feel of depth in here. Now, you would even do this for a regular painting, that you don't want anything that's really important on the edge of the paper. You want something that's in the center. And so what you do is you diffuse the sides somewhat to keep your eye going away from it. So here's what I've done. I've used lines that are more or less going towards the center, like even these grass forms in some pieces in here. This is a weird piece that just happened, but it kind of looks nice. And I've got these lines in here as if they were the landforms of hills or whatever, different planes of land. What I haven't done is when I'm teaching landscape is nothing but a bunch of shapes, it's just almost like stripes going across. And my stripes usually change from warm, cool, and more intense, less intense, less intense, and less intense, so that you get a feeling that you're going into the depth. And that's what I'm sort of doing in this too, but I'm jumping around now, just putting different colors. What I have to do is I have to come back, keep things like this has to stay light. I'll probably have to get a little darker in here on this edge here, a little bit more over here. I'm not satisfied in this part yet, what I might do, but I want to do some more lines in there. Let's see, what can I do? The orange is bad. Let's try the green. I wonder if this is dry enough. We'll soon find out. The fun part of these clear plastic pieces is you can lose them because they're clear. Okay, here's what I want. Is this dry enough? Yeah. I'm going to have this sort of relates to the pieces down here, so that I have the same pattern. I'll have to do that in another color.
We've lost the last few inches off the bottom of your artwork.
What was that?
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
It fell.
okay.
Okay, so you see that balances this. I might put some in there also. Trying to think what else. There was this one little piece here. It's still wet. I can't do anything with it, but I can do this one. It helps it a little bit. Let's see if this will work with blue. Okay, now I'm going to work up in that upper part, and that's going to get darker. So I'm going to really mix up a dark greenish, kind of a greenish blue. And I'm going to get this. And I'm jumping from one to this next so that I have a different shade within. See, that kind of adds to what was over on the other side. And I've got to wait for that to dry so I can put some other colors up in it. I've got that dark, so I'm going to make this darker.
Marilyn, I have a question.
Okay.
Did you start using the acetate originally when you were fracturing these into landscapes?
Yes.
You never used tape or anything and then discovered the acetate?
Okay. No, I like this acetate because you can see
it's fabulous.
I mean, it's the best thing that ever happened. Too bad they don't sell them. The problem is you can lose them. They fall on the floor and you can't see it. So sometimes I will add a piece of masking tape in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find the masking tape and maybe sometimes I'll have a couple. So like right now I have 3. And these three, if I lose one, at least I've got another one. This is a nice short. This long one was great for, straight across. So at least if I have some that are 18 inches long, I've got something that'll go all the way across. Otherwise, I have some even smaller ones where I can go in and I'll just use that very quickly. And I like this finish look to it with the line rather than having it with a pencil line and trying to come up to it. Maybe because I can't see.
Well, the effect is beautiful. It's just stunning.
Now
Thank
see,
you for your answer.
I can see these two. That has to have a line there. And I'm not, yeah, it's dry. Okay, I should be able to do that.
So you never just paint a section, you always fracture it first with the colored line.
Yeah. Now see,
Okay.
I can do it now. There, I'm going to put another section in there. This is wet, so that's not going to do too well. I don't like these in here. Let's see if I can get some with green in here. So these are some more of those kind of grass shapes up there that are supposed to represent trees.
Marilyn, how did
Yeah.
you decide on a color scheme for your painting?
How do I what?
How do you decide on a color scheme? What colors you're going to use?
I'm doing traditional colors in here, sort of, with your different shades of greens and a landscape. These are just, I added this brightness because I needed the complementary of the green. Not
Okay.
red. I didn't want red. Red, I think, would overdo it in here. So this
Okay.
orange that I have, that is pretty close. I've got lots of blues. I don't have any really perfect blues. And I should probably put some in. I've got a beautiful shade of turquoise blue in here.
I've seen some of your paintings, like the stairwells that have a lot of red. Is that just because it's such a dark hue?
Yeah. Yeah, here I'm going to put some blue in. Okay, I'm going to go over some of these with blue. I remember I said that these dry lighter, so I never know for sure. See, I've touched this. I gotta wait till that gets longer. I'm going to make this darker. Okay, because I'm making this darker, I'm sort of losing that there, and I have to wait. There's something wrong here, I need a line straight there. Let me do that. It looks like I was going to, and I never did before. I'm going to make a line straight down here. There. That finished it off. See, the line finishes it rather than, see, some of these are very light and you can't see the line too much and it looks kind of fuzzy. There's a fuzziness down in here. So later on, I did use yellow. I may use a better orange. That would be beautiful if I used an orange line, but my orange is running out. Where I took over where my yellow lines were. And I think that would add and balance these. I just see different as I work with this, and that's when you even do another, even a regular traditional picture. As you're working, you see some things that need to be changed, and so you change them. All right, here's this one piece here. I'm going to do a blue over that. Wait a minute, is this still dry? Oh, that side's still dry. So I'll just do it on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm going to take that. This is a nice thing where you can actually do glazes on top of stuff. And by doing that, I have to wait for that to dry. But then here you get So I'll put the line back in there again. This is where it starts to look, it really is a watercolor because you've got the traditional ways where watercolor changes. You don't want it just solid, otherwise you might as well use tempera paint. Okay, I've got this color that's a dark blue. I'm going to start adding some of that into here. Not really dark, but it's darker. So this is where you get your values. You've got to make sure that you're going from light to dark. Now, see, I'm going to have to get darker back there later on. And that's why sometimes near the end, if I see something that's not quite working, I'll use my dirty water. My water isn't dirty enough yet. And I'll just take a brush stroke with a wider brush and cover up edges on the side that pushes it away. And that way, it gives me more depth. And I see here is a section here that I think I have to whiten. So I'm going to see if I can lift this out. Okay, you can't do this with all papers. So that's why I like this Richardson, that I can lift out if there's somewhat of a mistake there. Okay, I've got to get this a little darker. Too dark. Okay, because I've got that color, that has to be here. And in here. Okay, now that starts to look sort of like those could be bushes. This is light, but see, some of this got lost in there. Okay, this needs to be darker, but I'm not sure what. Let's see, let's try this. Okay, by getting this darker, it makes you go back into space right here. So that's another section of the background of land. There. Any questions so far? We're getting close to the end of the program.
We've
Okay.
got 7 minutes left.
Wow. Well, maybe I should just stop and have some questions now. No questions?
I think you've done a terrific job.
Well, main thing is, all right, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle in a way.
Mhm.
You're just filling up spaces. This is almost like when you make a bunch of little circles and checkers and you just check every one and fill it in. And sometimes when you fill things in, then you start seeing that the whites really show up, and you've got to get rid of some of the whites because they interfere with everything. Just like this one will, and so will this one. That means that's got to get darker. This has to be another color. These little areas have to be changed. Something else has to happen here. So that you can see that that's a tree. looks like I have to have something. Oh, that's a branch. So the branch is going in there. And that's why I have to start looking to see what happens and then balancing the textures and the color. And then eventually I throw it away. Okay, any more questions?
Marilyn, what are you going to do with your path there?
What am I going to do with my what?
The path, the white or real light area. Are you going to break that up with
Oh,
color, or
I'm not
I see you
sure.
have lines there?
I'm going to make some real light areas that look like a shadow going across.
Oh, okay.
Now, I haven't got lines that relate to a shadow. Like this could be something and it goes across and I balance it. I'm going to do it with orange since that orange doesn't work too well. Here is that shadow and I'm going to make it balance there. Well, you can sort of see it, see? And then I'm going to go like this and bring it down to here. And so that whole area there will be part of the shadow going across down here.
Okay.
Thing. But it's not going to be really dark. And there. So this section, probably, I'm going to make this at an angle. See how I'm going like this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to do this one down here. So I'm picking up that. So this section, and this little section will be probably some dirty water. Just break. So it'll be a little, maybe not quite as dark as that, but what I'll do is I'll take a color and do the glaze right across it so it all balances together. And that way that'll lead your eye up to here.
Okay.
Anything else?
Marilyn, question. Have you ever thought about making these into puzzles?
I did.
Lovely.
I made
Because
I made 3 puzzles of some of my boat pictures. I've gotten pretty well known with my boats. Let's see. I wonder, did I bring any?
I just love the values and the warms with the colds that you put together. It really makes your eye go all over. It's gorgeous.
Good. Well, here are 2 of my boat paintings. There's this one.
Oh, wow.
And this one.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
And look at, see, these are almost like Montreal.
Yeah.
They're very difficult as as a puzzle.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I
really.
did 3 different ones of my boat pictures and I gave them away for Christmas presents. And I've never tried them. They're still in the box.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Okay.
I have to admit, as hearing you talk, you can hear the smile in your voice.
Oh,
How much you like doing this. I think that's an important lesson that everybody should be having fun while they paint.
It's infectious.
Yes.
well, this is the reason you do it because you like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't even bother with it. But I've got 2 parts of my brain. One is very mechanical. And this goes towards that mechanical side. I got the other side that's very creative. Once in a while, they come together. Anything else?
Well, I think you have been an inspiration. I'm very, very impressed.
I hope you'll share this with Mike or Carol when you're done so we can see the completed painting.
Well, maybe I will finish it.
Well, if you ever finish it, send a copy to Carol and she will.
Well, I will. When I finish, I think I will because I'm almost near the end.
Good.
I'll finish it and I'll send you a JPEG.
That's
If you
perfect.
want, you can run it off and everybody can have a copy of it.
That'd be great.
You
Thank
would
you
really
so
love
much.
that. So thank you so very
thank you.
much.
Enjoyed it.
I'm going to end the recording now. As soon as I find the button. It's back. been a while since I've done this. Okay. I'm not finding it. One last thing for all the membership. Next month's meeting, April 24th. It's the week after Easter. And it's live at the Amherst Community Church. So please be there. Okay. And if not
The
there,
recording, Deb, the recording button is down below. Put your
yeah,
cursor
I'm
down on the
host.
bottom. It's the second from the right on the Mac.
I don't think I see it as a co-host.
Well, you better because you're the one who's recording it.
Up there.
I have to do this over again?